Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Black Coffee and Crime. This is episode 92. As promised, we're going to talk about the Netflix documentary Killer Sally, about a former bodybuilder who became a convicted murderer when she killed her husband. So we'll talk about that. But there's two other big stories in the news. One of them is triumphant, depending on which side of the political spectrum you're on, and the other one is quite tragic. Um, a couple weeks ago, a little girl was kidnapped here in Texas, but she was kidnapped and murdered by a FedEx driver delivering her Christmas present. Like, he delivered one of her Christmas presents to her father's house. She was visiting for the Christmas break with her dad, and she was hit by the FedEx driver. He hit her, but she was clearly alive and functional. But instead of calling the authorities or anything, he takes her with him. She says basically, I'm gonna tell my dad or whatever, and then he strangles her and throws her in the pond. That was November 30th, and they found her on December 2nd. Her name was Athena. Was it you, Jackie, who said something about this story to me, or was it you, Brandy, who said something about this story?
Probably was me.
Yeah,
I sent you a TikTok.
Okay, yeah, you did. Okay. She was 7 years old. 7 years old. This happened in Paradise, Texas. Basically, once she's reported missing in whatever, the GPS from FedEx GPS tracked the last person who, and that's how they found him, the driver. 31 years old. His name is Tanner. What is his name? Tanner something.
So we're thinking he killed her because he hit her, or he killed her because he was gonna kill her anyway. What are we thinking?
From what I understand, is he killed her. I don't think it was a plan. I think that he just did something super stupid, but I don't necessarily, my suspicious mind, I don't necessarily think that this is the first time that he's done something similar or hurt somebody, because why is that your thought? Not that I'm gonna, I just don't understand. Like, you take you kidnap her and then strangle her, like she's alive and she could have lit. Like, I don't understand.
I don't know. Maybe it's a bigger Thomas syndrome.
A what? A bigger Thomas syndrome?
Yeah.
Do you think so? Because it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, bigger Thomas didn't make sense either.
It doesn't. That's one of the most upsetting stories that I've ever read in my whole life. And I still want to have a posthumous discussion with Richard Wright because I don't get it. Yeah. So it's just like one senseless act to cover up another senseless act. And now you have a dead 7-year-old during the Christmas holidays. But yeah, this just doesn't make sense. Like, I get the panic. I understand the panic, but you're still going to lose your job. So it can't be, oh, I'm going to lose my job. You're still going to lose your job. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble. You're still going to get in trouble.
Well, maybe he didn't think he was going to get caught.
He has to be incredibly stupid because you work for FedEx. Like, I track my FedEx packages down to to the street. Like, they tell me your driver's turning in on this street right here. You have 3 more stops. So why wouldn't you think that you're tracked? Like, they're gonna know.
They're gonna know.
They're just gonna know. And I saw that the mother who lives in Oklahoma, I believe, Oklahoma or Arkansas. She was doing an interview, press conference kind of thing, and she showed the Barbies that were delivered for her daughter. Like, that was her. I was like, I can't. It's too much. It's too much.
It's
But
because
How'd
it's
she get
because
the
of that
barbie?
tracking that you make you feel like this isn't his first time because you're aware of every moment that you're going. So why was that your first thought, considering that you're tracked? They're gonna find out regardless. So why was that your first motive? Let me just snatch her up while she's hurting and go kill her. You know, it just kind of feels like maybe I don't know. Maybe you either have thought about this before, either you've done some kind of hurtful crime in the past and never went to this extent, and this is your first time at that extent. It could be just a stupid thing, but I mean, it just seems so far fetched to just be like it was just extremely random.
right,
Because I mean, it would mean he was extremely stupid the whole time.
right.
So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. You're exactly right. Like it's I've never been in that situation. Well, I can say I've never been in that situation, but I did hit a lady. I was pregnant and I was taking my brother-in-law to the liquor store. I don't know if I told you this story, Brandy. I was taking my brother-in-law to the liquor store, right? And this like it's a next to the Thunderbird Hotel on University. Okay, so there used to be like a tire shop and then a liquor store. Well, there's a liquor store, that there's like a blind spot coming out on University. So I looked to the right towards downtown, and then I looked again to the left, and I looked to the right, and I saw the lady on the bike, but she was far enough away that I could pull out. Well, when I decided to pull out, she wanted to go around. Well, I hit her. Her bike was underneath the car. I was so scared. I was nervous. I'm like, I'm going to end up in jail. I'm going to have this baby in prison. Meantime, my brother-in-law gets out of the car. He's literally on the ground. Like he's no help at this point. The lady
On the
is,
ground laughing?
yes, the lady is screaming.
It's horrible.
Absolutely screaming. She's hollering and I'm nervous and I'm trying to calm her down. And she's just screaming like my blah, 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 my blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what she's talking about.
My bike?
No, she was screaming out because she had gone to another store, I guess, and she had bought a Kahlua mudslide, the drink, and she had it in a bag and it broke in the bag. That's all she was worried about was this Kahlua mudslide. So in an instant, my anxiety and stress about me having a baby in prison went away. And now I'm angry because I hit you, lady. Your bike is mangled up under this car.
Probably not. It wasn't even her bike.
And she's worried about this $5 drink. And I did what any normal human would do. I rushed that lady back into that store and I gave that clerk about $5 to $10. And I said, get her the mudslide. And my brother-in-law and I left the scene, going in the opposite direction so no one would know what. Yes. So I don't know what happened to the lady in the mudslide. So, yeah. So your natural inclination is not to I didn't want to kidnap the lady. I didn't want her. My concern was, of course, her but also myself was, I understand like what's going to happen to me, but it wasn't like, let's run her over again so she doesn't talk. Like it wasn't that. So, but yeah, that's my story on hitting somebody and having anxiety, but it didn't get to the point where we wanted to silence the lady with anything other than a mudslide. Yeah, so that happened in Paradise, Texas. The other big story is WNBA Russian captive Brittany Griner was released a few days ago in a trade for, what's his name, Victor Bout, who was a Russian arms dealer. Supposedly his name was like death dealer or some crazy moniker that he was given. She was in prison for 200 and something days in a Russian prison camp. It was so cold that she had to cut off her locks. She had long, beautiful locks. She had to cut them off because they would freeze.
I know how that feels, and I ain't from Russia. I can only imagine.
Right.
Just Alabama cold. Russia cold is a whole different other type of beast.
And reportedly she was in one of the worst work camps that exist in Russia. A lot of hoopla and controversy, I think there's more controversy about her being released than there was about her being arrested and convicted in Russia for drug possession of a vaping pen. And, you know, a lot of people are saying it's because she was traded for an arms dealer and it was a bad political move for the US and it's going to have bad repercussions. Why wasn't Paul Whelan or whatever brought home? 2 weeks ago, no one knew who Paul Whelan was. Somebody knew, but the vast majority of the people talking about this did not know who Paul Whelan was, did not know who Victor Bout was, did not care that this man was an arms dealer. But now there's arguments about she should have been left there. If you were going to trade if the Paul Whelan thing didn't go through, you should have just left her there. Like, what are y'all thoughts on, one, her being released, and then two, who she was traded, like the trade, and like, what do y'all think? Or do you even think anything about it?
He didn't have a life sentence, so he was going to get out. I think people are kind of concerned now because of the whole war situation, but that's not type of vocation that you can hop right back into right when you get out, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He was a bad guy, but if that was my child or my loved one, I don't care who you trade.
From my understanding and my thoughts is this. I don't necessarily think he did say, Victor Bout reportedly did say something about he supports the war with the Ukraine. Yeah, he's a Russian guy, whatever. Most Americans support war with other countries and we don't even know why we're at war with them. So that's, patriotism, I guess. But I don't necessarily think that because he was released, the Russian war effort gets bigger or whatever. Because no one needs help. No one needs help dealing in weapons.
And I'm gonna say whatever I want to. I need to say for Putin. Put my name on the list to be brought on home to my mama.
Yeah, and even Paul Whelan's brother and sister are like, duh, bring her home. Like, bringing her home didn't have any effect on whether or not their brother was coming home. He was never a part of the deal. It was never on the table.
But he did think he was coming home. He did think it, but he understands that his charges are way more serious than hers. But he had his bags packed. He said he had his bags packed and he was hoping. But because originally they were trying to get him and her a twofer, but they didn't want him to go because his charges was a lot more serious because his espionage charge.
Right. So, he's considered a spy.
Yeah. He says he went for a wedding. He went for a wedding or something, and
if it's your child or your loved one, you want them home, right? I get it. But people are saying that he was a decorated Marine. No, he was dishonorably discharged. The man committed fraud. He stole money from his fellow Marines. He had a pretty bad record. Not saying that he's a bad person. He doesn't deserve to be released, but it also doesn't mean that Brittany Griner doesn't deserve to be released. I think it's, from the things that I've heard, I don't even want to talk about it because that's another can of worms. It's just people have some crazy ass opinions about whether or not she should have been released. But I'm glad the woman is home. I think her story is like a cautionary tale for traveling in other countries. Like, be aware of what you should and should not do, what you can and cannot do in someone else's country. Now in Indonesia, just to add, in Indonesia, there's a new law that if you are not married, you cannot occupy a hotel room together. There's no it's so
Well, it
boyfriend and
goes in
girlfriend don't
effect
go.
in 3 years. 3 years. So y'all can fornicate for 3 years until the law.
Yeah, but just because I think because the law has already, they've already considered this, that just going over there and having open displays of affection and all that is frowned upon. So just don't do
the tourism
it's gonna suffer.
sector, they are fighting back because they said that's how we make our money, and we don't want to go through another pandemic type of situation where we don't have tourism. So we'll see if it's going to be money or if it's going to be
Yeah. I mean, there are
more.
other countries that, public displays of affection are frowned upon, that are built on tourism. And it works. So, or it has worked, or there is some system where, it works. But yeah, it's just be aware when you're going to another country that it doesn't work like it does here in the States. And you might not be able to come home for doing something simple. All right, so let's talk about Killer Sally. I think we just always just jump in the middle of the story whenever we do something. We don't ever really go back and get nobody's damn life history. But here's the thing. Sally McNeil, former Marine. She's twice married. She's had a horrible childhood. She was abused by her stepfather, and then her first husband. She has a history of bad behavior, a long history. Her behavior was so bad that the U.S. Marines would not allow her to re-enlist. Now, the Marines are supposed to be the baddest of the baddest, and if the Marines don't want you,
she was just argumentative.
Is that the
That's what I was
official
gonna
word?
say.
Or is
That's what I
that
was gonna say. Maybe she just kind of, she just came off as very argumentative, a little standoffish at times, So that may be what it was.
okay? So y'all, okay, all right.
I mean, she wasn't beating folks up and she like that. I mean, they just said she was very argumentative.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Yeah, she was beating up people.
Okay. Well, she started beating up people. Okay, so she escalated. So she's married. She's divorced. She has 2 kids, Shantina and John, by her first husband. But in 1987, she's a bodybuilder, and she was bodybuilding in the Marines too. So she was, working on her craft there as well. Super fit, blonde, attractive, I guess. So she meets another fellow bodybuilder. I said attractive, I guess, based on your personal beauty standard, Brandy. I saw your damn face.
Right on.
Because her beauty standard is not my beauty standard. I'm just saying that somebody finds a woman attractive. She wasn't, at the time, she wasn't ugly. Now, when you see her in the Netflix documentary, time has, taken
She just looks worn. She looks worn.
I mean,
that's not funny. I'm sorry.
But prison will do that to you, so they say.
Prison and life will do that to you, depending on what type of life you lead. But she meets Ray McNeil, another fellow bodybuilder, in 1987. They fall in love and they get married within 2 months. And it's not good from the beginning. Like, it's tumultuous from the beginning. Now you have to consider the world of the 80s, and even the early 90s. This is when you speak of bodybuilding, you're talking about steroid use. Did she ever use steroids, or was it just him?
Yeah, she was using it too.
Yes,
she wasn't using it as much as her husband and the type that her husband was using, but she definitely was using steroids.
Yeah, I was gonna say she definitely used steroids.
They were both into bodybuilding competitions, him more so because he wanted to, compete. And it takes a lot of money. Any competitive sport takes a lot of money, bodybuilding especially, well, included rather. And he had like a promising career, but it fell short. And every time he would lose or whatever, he'd have the roid rages or whatever, and he'd take it out on her. And then she'd take it out on him, and then they're taking out on each other, and then he's taking out on the kids, and Sally's acting like nothing's happening. There's some cheating going on, there's some fighting going on, and then Ray dead. But we'll get to the part where Ray gets dead. I need to ask, with the steroid use on her part, do you think that her steroid use like made her behavior worse? Because it reacts differently in women than it does.
Yes. Do you remember when the police came to get her and there was 5 police officers and she ended up rolling down the stairs or something like that, and then she had like a fighting stance at the bottom of the stairs, and she had like 5 or 6 police officers on her.
Yeah, that's when she got into it with the neighbor in Oceanside. They lived in Oceanside, California. Mm-hmm. That's when she got into it with a neighbor. Like Brandy said, it was like 5 police, and she was tossing them off like whack-a-mole. It was nothing. And then she's like, bring it on.
Well, one of the side effects to steroids anyway is aggression, even more aggressive than what she already was, because that's one of the side effects to it, that it just brings a little bit of rage, a little bit of anger. So it definitely enhanced it, for sure. But that stance thing, in my mind, when I play that in my head, y'all, the way that I laugh about it, but
it's comical to even think about what she was doing or what that.
I was like, what?
It's comical. And if you haven't seen Killer Sally, it is still a limited documentary series. I think it's 4 or 5 episodes or something like that on Netflix. So it's still available. It came out like October on Netflix. So in their relationship, they meet and marry within 2 months.
That's a problem right there.
That's a problem. Ray doesn't work really. She does. And so she's the one that is funding his bodybuilding habit. Takes money for the, supplements and training and all that stuff. Takes money for all that. And she's funding that. Well, while she's doing that, Ray is training and cheating. And it doesn't go well. So she's also training and competing in fitness competitions or whatever, and she's winning. She's really good. She has a promising career. Actually, her career was probably more promising than his. He goes up for Mr. Olympia. He places 5th. That kind of takes the wind out of his sails some. And his career doesn't get any higher than that. Like, that's as far as his competitive career goes. He doesn't really do much better than that 5th place at Mr. Olympia. And it gets bad, because he's still taking, Ray was huge. He was a big guy. He had that classic bodybuilder triangle shape with no legs, no waist and like little legs like Popeye or whatever. So the rage gets bad. They're fighting. She actually is sanctioned by the fitness committee or something like that, that it's called, some sort of fitness committee, where she's not able to compete because she fought a woman at one of those competitions. Like, beat the brakes off the woman over Ray. This goes back and forth for years. And, there's plenty of police reports about the abuse. And of course, it eventually leads to Ray's death. But one of the things that really struck me about this is that Ray would sometimes abuse her kids. And she admits 2 things. She knew about it. And then she also says in one of the prison interviews, like recent prison interviews, that she doesn't even remember, like she was out of it. So she really doesn't remember exactly what happened. But she was aware of what he was doing to her, the abuse of her kids most of the time.
He probably would have got killed a lot earlier on.
Who? Him? That Ray would have gotten killed? If what?
You mess with my kids.
But
oh, you speaking in general view? Because I'm like,
because I'm like, because she knew and she didn't do anything.
You know, I'm talking about me.
Oh,
first of all, the first time Ray tried to even hit me, it would have been over. I mean, he wouldn't even had to hit me. You was acting like you was gonna hit me, but that's outside the story. But yeah.
One thing, there's a, like, for me, like, as far as their abuse of each other and his abuse of her, it seemed like she was actually a very physically strong person, not just buff or, overgrown or whatever. She was actually physically strong. But one thing about bodybuilders and people who work out in gyms, some bodybuilders aren't that strong and don't have stamina.
No, the steroids bulks you up, but it doesn't give you. It doesn't necessarily.
But the bodybuilding in and of itself, and I'm quite sure there's someone that's going to correct me, and you definitely can, respectfully. It doesn't, like, if you can have somebody who works out on a farm and has a total dad bod, then you can have someone who looks like Ray who works out in the gym. The guy with the dad bod is hella strong, much stronger than the gym rat. Because they're just doing that just to bulk up. They're not building like real strength and real stamina. She seemed like she was hella strong. Like, I don't understand, because in her videos, because at some point she started doing these wrestling videos and like almost soft porn type, questionable cinematic.
I guess she was
HBO Cinemax type stuff.
When you look at her and her body against other women, then she would seem extra.
But I'm saying that, yes, of course, in comparison to a regular sized woman, she appeared very big and very strong. But I'm saying she was actually just physically strong. Like, this woman was picking up grown men and just kind of parading them around the room on top of her damn head. I just don't know why she didn't beat the hell out of Ray.
Because he was stronger than her, clearly.
Was he stronger than her, or she just...
I think he was probably stronger.
Or was it the fear?
Or was it fear?
It's the fear of the fear of thinking, okay, this is a man. There's no way I can beat him. And that is a real fear that a lot of women have. Not saying that all do, but some do. And in considering the abuse that she had already been going through, in her mind, now at that point, she has mentally trained herself now that he has got to be stronger because I've allowed this to happen and he can do this. Not knowing her own strength could probably beat his ass.
Yeah, but I totally agree with that. Like, physically, I think, now, of course, that's a man. So, he has a natural physical advantage and he does work out, but he's also on drugs and on fillers. And he'll easily deflate. His stamina is shit.
But that adrenaline and that anger, though,
but
that's not easily.
You're right. The roid rage, whatever. But once he comes down, just like someone who is on meth or whatever, they're high for days. But when you come down, you're way down. They take fillers to build them up. They're not, you know what I mean? They deflate. And I'm quite sure his sex drive was nothing. His testosterone was on one end was, ridiculously high. But
doesn't that steroids make you peen little?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
And she was
putting up with a lot then.
She was putting up with a lot and not much. So he's spreading with his cheating. He's spreading around that disability. He's spreading his disability around. Like, you got nerve to not be...
Baby, the audacity.
You gonna take that with you to somebody else's house?
You know, man, if they don't have nothing else, they gonna have that audacity.
All of it. All of it. So they keep going back and forth. But let's go back to the kids. That pissed me off about her. Like, I had some sympathy for, or let's say empathy for her with the domestic violence, but the fact that she let this man abuse her kids, and she was just like, oh well.
I think if she hadn't got to Ray, her son would have done something to him when he was asleep or something.
No, I didn't. I thought maybe the daughter
Put a little poison in his coffee.
I
That
thought
son
maybe
did not
the
like
daughter
him.
had a little bit more chutzpah than the son did to do something.
The son did not like him at all.
No, he didn't. But I don't think that.
I don't think the girl would have done anything. I don't think she would have done anything.
I don't think the son would have either.
I think the son would have. He's still angry about it. Mind you, he beat his girlfriend up, which I don't. But
it's a cycle. It's a cycle. His father was abusive. His stepfather was abusive. His mother was abusive. Do you think that she was abusive to those kids too?
Yes. I think it just, when we look at abuse, I can't just look at physical. I have to look at all levels of abuse. Mm-hmm. And do I think, considering her drug use, the anger she had, did she not abuse her children in some form? Definitely. Mm-hmm.
I think she probably physically abused them too. I don't know. I'm speculating, which is something I do quite a lot of, but I think that the whole I don't remember is a defense mechanism for her. That maybe she was sometimes like egging that on with Ray. If the kids did something, or you discipline them or whatever. And like you said, with her anger issues, do I think that she probably did something to them kids at some point? Yeah. And it masked it as a discipline. Yeah. Because that's what was done to her as a child, and then the abuse with Ray.
And then Marines are crazy on their own. Sorry, some of y'all Marines, but some of y'all, I don't know if it's the time out in the sea or what, but some of y'all's crazy.
And well, military men in general can be a little, shaky.
That's what I was gonna say. In general.
So in between the beatings, she's making the children keep coming. She's making these like Cinemax After Dark wrestling movies. They ain't wrestling, they wrestling.
She had to do something to make some money. He didn't have no job.
Right, but then he gets jealous because he thinks that she's having sex with these men, which I don't think he was too far off. So after she's,
but he got nerve. He got nerve.
I understand.
Because he flashing his little peen all up the highways and the byways, the inlands and the outlets. So he got nerve talking to her about anything she doing to make money for him to get steroids to be cheating.
I understand, but I'm saying that he does get jealous and he thinks that she's having some relations. Don't you think she was having relations? Okay, so when she transitioned,
I don't think so.
When she transitioned from the wrestling videos, like the ones the wrestling ones, the ones that are produced.
I don't think so.
They were produced by a porn producer.
I don't think she was sexing them men. Did you see how some of them men, bellies and bald head and ugly?
Brandy.
And she liked black men.
Brandy, she liked black men, but she also liked money. People who sell twat don't care about their johns. I care about.
I'll do a good body roll for you for some cash, but that don't mean.
You know what? I think we're gonna end this right now. After that display.
Yeah, I can't do my full body roll because y'all know I'm still ailing. But just because I'm body rolling for you ain't mean I'm spread my legs for you. It just means I'm a private dancer.
I don't see Sally as a private dancer.
Wait a minute. The last
I
of
did
those
not think
lyrics.
that
Wait a minute.
woman was
The
sleeping
last
with.
of those lyrics say, "I'm a private dancer. Do what you want me to do." So it could be more than dancing, and dancing could be in any form.
I think
She wasn't sleeping with them men. Sally, I know you weren't sleeping with them ugly ass men.
Brandy, Brandy, you just said Sally was ugly.
I didn't say she was ugly. I didn't say no words.
You didn't have to say any words.
But did you hear me say that?
Hell yeah, I heard you say it.
I just don't like the extra bulk women. Some people find that attractive.
I mean,
to me, that's not attractive.
I
But I
didn't
do
know
not
that.
think.
Listen,
I do not think she was sleeping with the men.
you always go
You
with
don't think one? You don't think even one or two she didn't?
You are always
No.
focusing on the
She was
fact
making money. She was making money to take care of her family. She wasn't doing no outside sexing. She wasn't
Brandy,
about. She wasn't
she
about
was
that life.
going to hotel rooms to wrestle on motel comforters.
Well, she nasty for that. For the hotel
Sally,
comforters, because we know
I'm
they don't
sorry.
clean them.
Sally
But
was
she wasn't sexing on them.
Sally
She wasn't
busted open
sexing.
for somebody.
She
She
was not
busted open for
sexing.
somebody. I'm sorry.
No, she wasn't sexing.
I don't
No.
believe that. I do not believe that for a second.
She was faithful.
To what?
She was faithful to that man. That's why what made her so angry is because she up here being faithful to him when she had plenty of opportunities to cheat, but she didn't.
Oh my God.
You know what?
She didn't cheat.
Okay, because that is absurd. That is absolutely fucking absurd. That is absurd.
And here we go.
That is absurd.
So considering that, okay, let's just put everything out there. We get little because of steroids.
Mm-hmm.
He's abusing her. There's no affection. There's no affection. There's no love. Here I am making this money by being a wrestler. And I'm going to the locations where there's wrestling that is more intercourse like happening. And the people who produce my movies and my videos also produce the type of porn that is involved in this type of environment because they can put it out there in a marketing that will attract these type of people that like this kind of thing because it has to have some kind of market. And you mean to tell me you don't think not once that some more happened?
And then she was freelancing. Then she was doing it on her own, recording on a camcorder in a corner on a tripod. Brandy's just focused on the fact that the men that her Johns
were ugly,
are unattractive. But that has nothing to do with money. That has nothing to do with it.
I don't think so. I think the fact she was so jealous of him being other women because she was over there being faithful to him and she had many chances to cheat and she did not.
She did not jealous of women.
She was not a good woman.
Would be the exact reason why she would.
No, he wasn't a good woman.
Exact reason.
No, I said she wasn't a good woman.
I don't think she was cheating. So we're just gonna disagree.
All right. Well, we can disagree, but I think you're wrong. All right, let's move on. So she's making her videos, her little soft porn videos or whatever to make money for him, the cheating, the beatings or whatever. So they get so bad that, she says that he's choking her, that he chokes her or whatever. And one of the things that happens, according to Sally, happened every Valentine's Day is that he would beat her. Like that was the thing that she could expect on Valentine's Day was a fight. For the couple of years, you good? A couple of years prior to murdering Ray, that on Valentine's Day, instead of having flowers and candy and champagne and, Luther Vandross in the background, she got beat. They would fight.
Just because he was whining and dining some other woman.
Could be. Well, the particular Valentine's Day in 1995, it comes to a head. According to Sally, that Valentine's Day, now, prior to this, he had a girlfriend. He had a dedicated girlfriend. He was going to leave Sally for this woman. Sally knew who this woman was. He was going to leave Sally for this woman. And that night, that day, he didn't fool with Sally that day. The night later on, he comes home. He's making dinner or whatever he's cooking. What was it, chicken or steak or something?
Chicken.
And basically, she picks a fight with him. and they start fighting. So, on his end, it could have been a thing about self-defense because that particular night he wasn't studying her. That particular night he wasn't on that. I just want to have my chicken and I want to be left alone. So it was ironic that she complained that they would fight on Valentine's Day. Like she had the expectation of violence on Valentine's Day. And this was the first one that she didn't get that. Yet she incited it. He's cooking. They
What
fight.
are you talking about? He choked her the hell out before.
That night?
He choked her out on Valentine's Day. Yes, her daughter could hear it. She said she could hear her mom making those noises and she knew her mom was getting choked out.
Yes, he did. That's why I said they started fighting.
Well, I thought you said they didn't fight this Valentine's Day.
No. That what I'm saying is that particular day, like normally
it didn't start into a fight. Like she initiated that fight to happen.
Oh yeah, because she was wondering why he didn't come home.
That's what I'm Brandy, okay, go ahead. You tell your version of the story.
No, I'm just saying that he didn't come home because he was messing with that broad.
Right.
So
the one that he was leaving her for, the one that was making him happy.
Yeah.
That he wanted to leave Sally for, like, I'm done. He had told her before, like, I'm done. He had spent most of the day with the other lady. He gets home, he's cooking, a fight starts. He chokes her or whatever. He goes back to doing what he's doing. Excuse me. She goes in the room, she gets a shotgun, and she shoots him in the stomach area. He falls to the ground, and with that same shotgun, she shoots him in the face. Ray ain't got no face because it's a shotgun. She goes outside. Well, she goes and she calls the police. I need a fisherman's friend. Good Lord. Okay. So she goes outside. Well, she calls the police and she goes outside. She's like, hey, I killed my husband. What were her words?
I shot my husband.
Shut up.
And
anyway, that's what she did. But I was looking for her exact words that she had that she said when she made the call. They come, they find out. They take her in the Netflix video in the interrogation room. Like, what did you think about the way she was answering questions? Did you think she was, like, lucid or out of it? Was she in touch with herself, or like? I don't think she helped herself in that interrogation room.
No, she did not. She should have asked for a lawyer
immediately.
She did not help herself at all. She talked way too much. She told way too much.
You know what I did not like during that thing? Why they had to call that other woman? Of course, she ain't got nothing to do with it. Why'd they even ask her anything?
Why wouldn't they? Because they wanted. You don't have Ray. You can't ask Ray questions. Why wouldn't you ask the last person that he was with?
Because he gonna tell her what she want to hear, and of course he's gonna talk bad about the other woman to the new woman. That don't mean what he was saying was true.
No,
right, but it gives you though. They want the full story.
They want perspective.
It's an option. Yeah,
who was the last person? Who's the last person that you were with before you died? Before you were murdered?
Right, and what did they think about you? So what were they doing? Perfect.
What was their demeanor when they left you? What was when they said, "Okay, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna get my clothes and I'm coming back"? What was their intention? Did they tell you what their intention was? It's just a different perspective. You just mad because you don't like Ray and you favor Sally.
I don't necessarily favor Sally either.
Okay. Well, Sally didn't help herself in that interrogation room. And I think one of the reasons why, and this comes up in her non-defense in court, is her demeanor in that interrogation room, which doesn't necessarily mean that the person's not affected. But she was really matter of fact, really she wasn't giving grief. Like that's not the vibe she was giving. She was not giving off grief like, oh my God, I just shot my husband. This has been going, like, she wasn't giving the hysterical widow. She was given exactly what the prosecutor portrayed her as in court. Basically, a woman who has turned herself into a savage. Once she gets to court, once she goes on trial, the prosecutor's name was Daniel Goldstein. And now if I tell you this man destroyed her defense in court, he drugged the shit out of Sally. They tried to use the battered woman's defense, which was in the 80s, in the 90s, was something very new. That's basically the premise that someone can be abused for so long, and in a period or a time that they're not actually being abused, they can like be triggered or trip and kill someone because they're in constant fear that there will be a next time. So, they might be sitting across from me at the dinner.
I think if she hadn't taken the stand, that people were more apt to lean towards that. But when she got on that stand and she was just talking, and then they were able to bring in them videos and her lifting men up and tossing them and stuff, that jacked her up. Mm-hmm. That jacked her up totally.
Yeah, they totally.
She should have never took the stand.
They totally used her history of bad behavior, the fights that she had, her beating up the woman at the fitness competition, the fight that she had with the police, everything that they brought up was like, hey, how can she be battered? What did Daniel say?
But you can still be battered, even that stuff doesn't matter.
I understand, but I'm just saying how the prosecutor positioned it. So the prosecution was like that she intended to kill him. And that she couldn't be a beaten woman because look at her. And at this time, Sally's still a, big woman, like,
you think it would have made a difference if she was a little teeny mousy woman?
Yep.
Even if she went and got the gun and shot him afterwards?
Yep.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So it was all because of her size.
Her size and her attitude and her prior behavior.
It destroyed her.
And her displays of strength destroyed her defense. They were used against her. Clear, because a woman who is dainty and presents herself as, you're more likely to believe that, yes, this woman can be abused. This one.
Not that it's true. Not that it's true.
Not that it's true.
That's just the way it looks. It's
right. She's a Marine. She's a bodybuilder. She has this bravado. She's, all of these things. How can she has this confidence to make these films where she's lifting men and tossing men and all? She has this confidence. So how is this confident, strong, physically strong woman being abused? How has that happened? I mean, I'm not saying that she wasn't abused, but that's what the prosecution put forward. And that's what that jury believed. Let's see here. Yeah, like you said, Brandy, when they brought those videos in court, that made it worse. So they showed her pictures in her military gear, holding the gun that one of the pictures they showed was the same gun that she used to shoot Ray. So they built this persona of her, whether it's true or not, but that's the picture that Daniel Goldstein and his prosecution team built of her. And that's the one that the jury took. Yep. Now, she was eventually convicted. She was given 19 years to life. She was actually paroled in 2020, May of 2020, and she's remarried since then. So yeah. But okay, so she's out of prison now.
Yeah, they explored that at the end of the documentary, her being newly paroled and all of that. So yeah.
One of the things that Brandy and I argued about was, do you think she intended to kill him, or was she out of it, or was this a true battered woman's defense, or did she, like, was what she did justified?
I think she was tired of that. I think she was tired, and she went and got that gun. Now she shouldn't have fought. She shouldn't have did the second shot. She claims that he was still running towards her, which I don't know if he was running towards her more than he was falling towards her. He could have been running towards her. I don't know. But that second shot, that messed her up right there.
So you just think that that's a true battered woman's defense, that she was tired
Yeah,
of
I
it?
definitely think she was a battered woman and she was tired.
I don't.
And she was, and he was being disrespectful, parading these women. I think, yeah, she was tired.
I don't buy it.
No.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And maybe because I've never been a battered woman.
I ain't either.
And I'm not condoning domestic violence at all. And I understand that.
I think she was pissed off.
I think she was more angry than anything.
I think, how dare you, you know what I'm saying? Here you are to put me through the wrinkles. Now you go and treat her like some kind of goddess. Then you gone all day. Then you come in. I try to start with you. Now we fighting, and then but you still got the audacity to say you for to leave me. Now I'm for to show you something. So I guess maybe it was up her being fair, but I think mainly it's because she was pissed off. Like, how dare you?
Yes, I think she was convicted of second-degree murder, and I think that's very appropriate. I don't think that she woke up that morning and she said, "I'm going to kill him." I think in that moment, where in her head, normally, and it's convoluted as hell, because normally on Valentine's Day, at least we're fighting, but at least you're here. But today, you're not even giving me my normal time, whatever the hell that is. And you have the nerve to go whatever he did with that other woman, and then come on, like you said, then come home and say, you know what? Today's the final day. Like, I'm not going to do this. And this is normally our day. And someone who's not in that position is like, that's crazy that this is the day that he leaves you alone and you have freedom to breathe. And yet this is the day you still want that. But sometimes any attention, even negative attention, is better than none. And like you said, Jackie, you have the nerve to give her my time, and then you're going to leave. I think that day was all about her anger. Like, it was a buildup of anger. I don't think in that moment, was she a battered woman? Absolutely. Was she abused? Absolutely. But I don't think when she killed him, it was about that. I think when she killed him, it was about anger. It wasn't about, he's going to abuse me, because you knew at that point he wasn't, because it hadn't even started. It had not started. He was not thinking about you. He wasn't studying you. This man wanted to eat his pork chops and go on about his business. And I think Brandy and I have talked about this particular thing, is that I have seen women, known women who have been in either abusive relationships or abusive situations with a man. And that man is tearing her ass up. And he says, I'm about to leave. And that crazy ass woman will go stand in front of the door with a bloody nose and a split lip to make him not leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what happened that night. And I could be dead ass wrong. But he comes home. He's not paying attention to you. It's not the normal Valentine's Day. Like, he's giving you nothing. He's not giving you anything. And it's an agitation thing. Where have you been? Da, 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 da. Are you with her? Da, 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 da. And then, okay, you know what? I'm leaving. No, you're not leaving. No, I am going to leave. Move. No, you're not leaving. A fight starts. He does what he normally does. He chokes the shit out you to get you out of his way. Then it's like, you're not leaving. Because didn't he have his bags packed? Wasn't there a suitcase or something involved? in the room or something.
You can't remember.
I can't remember either. I think so though.
I think I think he had his bags packed or something.
Mm-hmm.
And
he was definite.
Like, I'm leaving, and then it was anger. Now
and then BW, that's where I'm tired now. Now I'm thinking about all the crap he done put me through, everything I done dealt with, me having to do my wrestling and to make money, giving you money for stores. See, then that's where the I'm tired comes in. But it now fuels up your rage. It fuels up your anger. Now I'm even more angry than I was before because now everything is just running through my mind at one time. Like, how dare you? Like, no, you didn't. Like, it that just fuels the rage even more, than where it was before. So now I'm really for to hurt you. Now you try me. And she just kind of, snapped a little.
Yeah.
And plus that second shot, the face shot.
Yeah.
That face shot.
That was personal. Too much at that point.
That's personal. That's some personal pain.
She could not justify that.
No, that was it. That face shot, that's personal. That's it right there.
She could not justify that.
That's rage.
And on the fact that when they were fighting, she didn't have that gun. She went and got it. And I believe that they said he was turned away from her when she went and got the gun. And like then he turned around, and that's when she's like, he was coming at me. But you had already had the gun at that point.
You had to go get the gun.
Right. It's not like you had the gun and he came at you. You went to go get the gun, and he was occupied elsewhere. So it's not like he chased you in the room and you went to go get the gun. He was still in another room, and you went in the bedroom to get the gun and came back out. And then you shoot him, and then you say he's coming at you again. But the way that the prosecution, the experts have said that the way that she shot him in the abdomen the first time, it's impossible that he was coming at you again to shoot him in the face. And that's what sealed the deal for her. But yeah, I understand Brandy's perspective as the battered woman defense.
Definitely.
But I think personally, based on what I observed in the docuseries and the articles, I really think that it was more than just Ray. It was prior rage.
You're not going to do this. It was the battered woman that fueled up the rage.
You're not going to continue to do this.
Woman that fueled it up.
My dad, my stepdad, and then her dad left her. So not only you're doing this, she has abandonment issues. You're going to abuse me, and then you're going to leave me. Like, if you're going to abuse me, you might as well stay. And all of that came to a head that night. And, but his friend, Ray's friend, the other bodybuilder, really pissed me off. And he was also his partner when they were bouncers at a club. And this is, I'm not going to say that Ray was a great person, because he was pretty damn violent himself. But his friend, Ray's friend, they acted like he didn't do anything to Sally. Like, I've never seen him abuse her. I've never seen this. But I always saw her doing this. It's impossible that you have a couple. I promise you that if you are around a couple long enough and one or both of them is abusive, you will see them act that shit out. You will see it. It's uncomfortable. It's awkward. But you're going to see it. You're going to see somebody that's snatched or.
And at that point, they're trying to continue to make him look good. Okay, he got we got to continue to make sure he looks good and the like, because this is just tragic what happened to him, which it was. But we need to make sure he look. Come on, please, y'all know y'all saw him acting a fool.
Yeah,
on that poor woman.
One of the things that they said that was her daughter, or their daughter, said that he came home one night and he, his clothes were full of blood or whatever. And he had gotten into it with a patron at a club and like gouged the person's eyes out or something. And he was real casual about it. But so was his friend when he was telling the story. So clearly Ray is, not a Boy Scout. And I'm not trying to say that at all.
He probably would have beat up that new girlfriend too after a while. She would have been in an abusive relationship.
But there was a very marked physical difference between the new girlfriend and Sally. The new girlfriend was that little petite woman that we just talked about. She was not like Sally.
Yeah, I understand that, but those steroids is gonna have him beating up on her, and act in a way that he probably normally wouldn't act. It doesn't matter if he was with her or somebody else or somebody at
Very
the
true.
bar.
Very true. Very true. But also, when you talked about like why would they interview her, that didn't look good to Sally on Sally's
I just didn't like
either.
the fact that she was the other woman.
But she's softer. This woman, like if you compare the two women, if they were going to compare them in court, the new girlfriend comes up and she speaks softly and she speaks this of Ray and da 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 da. And he's, maybe he did do something to her, but the perception is, oh, he'd never do that to me. He only did it to her because she fought back or they would fight. Not that he was beating her up, but they would.
That was dumb on her part. If she thought that was really dumb on her
absolutely.
part.
Absolutely. If you see a man abusing a man tells you that he was abusive to anybody, any woman prior to you, he's going to be abusive to you as well. Like that's what that is. But
she wouldn't have been able to fight back.
No. But again, if she's unable to fight back, and maybe in Ray's head, and maybe in the heads of other people too, is that because she's a soft, feminine woman, she wouldn't want to. She doesn't have those behavior issues. She doesn't have that aggression. She's not
I don't even think that, because he beat up on them kids knowing they was kids.
Oh, I'm not saying that he didn't beat up on her. I'm just talking about perception.
Oh, yeah, perception. Other folks' perception. But
yeah, I'm not saying that he didn't do it.
You beat up on kids, you pretty much beat up on anybody.
Right. But I'm just saying the perception of her versus Sally would be that, or could be, is that this soft, small woman is not aggressive. She's, she's feminine. She's not a Marine. She's not a bodybuilder. She's not, lifting tires and whatever Sally was doing. She's not doing that. So she's not going to bring out that side. She's not the savage that Sally is.
Kind of like she brings out a gentleness to him that no one else can see.
Sally is beating up these type of women for Ray. This is the type of woman that Sally is, showing her aggression against. So this entire thing, I don't think Sally had a chance of winning this case, of not being convicted. She didn't stand a chance. Of whether she was justified in shooting him or not, she did not stand a chance. Like the law, the misogyny was not on her side. The way it was, in Daniel Goldstein, I tell you what, I wouldn't want him to be on the other side. So, all right. Any last comments about Killer Sally or anything else? Nah, we done?
No.
We through? All right, guys. Well, good night. We will see you guys in a couple weeks. If you have any suggestions for shows, any comments, hit us up on Facebook or Instagram, Black Coffee Crime. Also, info@blackcoffeecrime if you want to send us an email. Otherwise, you can also visit our YouTube page, and these episodes will also be on Spotify. So we will see you next time, and good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.